You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
We're live. I think I have audio.
On the show this week, a new World of Outlaws Sprint Car Champion was crowned. A 2023 Coke Series made its official start, and the Porsche Super Cup Series begins this week. There's more from the controversial 24 Hours of Daytona, and is there data that can prove that sim racing is a sport?
And you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all these great topics we'll discuss by going to iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes, so you can follow us from there.
All right, so it's back. iRacing has announced the Skip Barber.
Obviously, you got to be available when the race is happening. You know, if you get picked in the top 20, and boy, you got to be able to put up a hot lap too in the time attack. Now, I time attack has changed a lot since the beta UI has come on. It's not like it used to be on the website. They put up a lot of different things there that you can try, and this is one of them.
That's almost like most of the majors races that you try to get into, where you basically have to set a qualifying time during the week and then get in, especially for the road courses. And we're still not getting a tap, Donnie.
And even though this is the Skip Barber series, didn't we find out that they're actually not using the Skip Barber car? They're using the IR04. Is that right? Yeah. Interesting choice. Yeah. I'm surprised that they did that.
Yeah, you would think it would be the Skip Barber, since that's the, title sponsor, and it's got Skip Barber as part of the title sponsor's name. But don't forget, not only you have to do the time attack, you have to do the paperwork and the $20 a week at the websites, at the Skip Barber Racing School website.
I wonder if they use the IR04 because it's a little bit more difficult to drive, and maybe they're getting a better test of a driver's skill.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't tried it yet. I'm still on the Indy Pro 2000, which is probably a step down from that car. So I was actually thinking about buying it here shortly and trying it. They were actually at a track that I didn't have, so I decided to wait another week. But
Well, we'll see if maybe the winner can take it all the way to the real championship again. That would be neat if that happened. So we hammered and hammered and hammered Williams, and they did finally come out with a late apology, Mike.
yeah, they did. And what do you guys think of this? I mean, I think it's a day late, a dollar short kind of thing. As I mentioned in the last show, if they were really sorry about it, they would have apologized earlier in the week. I mean, it
I
was
don't,
just silly that they came out so late with this.
I don't know. We're so used to the crazy fast news cycle. Maybe they did just need to take some time and have their lawyers look at it because it's, you're talking about a real racing organization that's dealing with real racecraft as well. So um, I I'm less concerned about the time than I am about the fact that they really didn't say there's going to be any real consequences from it.
Not internally anyway. You'll never know the consequences from iRacing side unless they announce it. But nothing internally from Williams, to discipline their own drivers and their own behavior, which is a little bit disappointing that they didn't take any internal measures on this.
Well, Greg, you put up a Jimmy Broadbent video about an hour or two ago, um, where he goes over this, and his take on this particular apology was really, I mean, reading between the lines is, hey, sorry, we got caught, and we're going to keep the win and so forth and proceed down the road.
Yeah, so it's a non-apology, really, if when you look up to it.
And another thing is, and I can understand why this might have taken a little time to come out if it needed to be vetted by legal people or something like that. But the thing that bothers me is that it says in here that they'd like to state that the social media posts put out by one of our team members was not authorized, or nor does it reflect the values of Williams Esports. They could have done something about that post sooner. They could have had that guy take that down a lot sooner. And that was, I'm assuming it's the one where the guy basically said, "Yeah, we cheated, we broke the rules, but it's if we don't do it, everybody else is going to do it, and we're going to lose to those guys." That was basically the post I think they're referring to, but they didn't do anything to try to halt that from my knowledge.
The other spin on this is this was the endurance teams, the endurance drivers, but Williams Esports is in lots of different sim racing. In fact, they're in the Coke series. They have a couple drivers there. And I was kind of watching carefully this week how those Coke drivers might be affected just being associated as Williams Esports. Would people go after him on social media? That kind of thing. I didn't really see it, but what do you guys think? I mean, would those guys, I mean, how would you be if you're the oval driver for that team and you see what's happened on the roadside? I mean, you got to have integrity and that kind of thing. I mean, I would be a little bit leery.
Well, certainly nothing like this would be allowed to go on in the Coke series. They actually do live admin.
Am I back?
Point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would this be a case of the Williams F1 team, just assuming that they're bigger than this and they can kind of care less? It'd be
I think
shameful.
that's how you read it between the lines. Yeah.
It's pretty sad, but I mean they're stepping into this esports realm, the sim racing realm. They should at least know their place a little.
That's why I really feel like in this situation, iRacing should be a little bit more public than they are in these type of situations versus some just random protest from average Joe to average Joe. That's definitely my take on that spin. But speaking of spin, we got a car, Donnie, that's going a little spin happy.
Yeah, spin cycle, if you'd say. So Overtake GG posted a video of looks like a prototype of some sort. I apologize if I can't get the right one down, but it's a prototype on iRacing. Gets T-boned essentially and then goes out of control and just starts spinning like a top. And I find this kind of fascinating on two accounts. One, it's another bug we get to look at and laugh at, but I've noticed this isn't the first Overtake GG post of a iRacing bug in the last few weeks since the whole motorsport games thing came out.
Yeah, this was also pretty much a setup that these cars all were wrecking each other on purpose.
Yeah, they're trying to do it. It appears. But man, the spin picks up momentum, and then it's like it doesn't even slow. And once it gets up on its nose, spinning around like a tornado, yeah, there's no stopping it. In fact, one guy goes driving after it, trying to knock it down, and actually can't even do that.
Well, at the very end, he finally to the point where he makes contact with the tornado car, and it just like lifts off the ground and just flies into the sky. It was really weird.
That was cool how it lifted off. He was able to just kind of just bump it just a little bit upwards, and it's like a balloon. It just launches up into the space. That's cool. How about a title idea? Tornado car.
How did that second prototype not get him? Oh, he comes back here towards the end again, but he missed him the first time. He missed him the second time. What the heck?
Yeah, when it's driving across, when it's twisting across the grass, it looks just like some kind of tornado watch where they're just following a tornado go across the plains of Kansas. Yeah, it was really, really weird.
I was thinking more like Nancy Kerrigan in a car.
It was too smooth of a spin. Was this pre or post injury?
Well, the person's knee probably wouldn't feel very good after that ride. Well, this next one I'll definitely take. iRacing at the 24 hours. It wasn't really iRacing. It was the BMW driving experience is what was actually going on there. They had two sim rigs set up with DD1 drives, I believe, and Fanatec V3 pedals and the old Fanatec tubular rig, I believe, with a kind of wide monitor. I tried it once and I struggled because the setup was really not right. And in fact, there was a Fanatec representative there who came up and talked to me after I was talking to him about the brake bias needed to be forward. He did move that forward, but he also fixed something called brake force, which was affecting it was affecting basically the brake curve on the brakes. And what was happening is it was making the brake too sensitive where it was locking the brakes up before I was even pushing the brake halfway down. So he fixed that, so I didn't turn great times, but it was still neat. I got to meet a Fanatec rep and ran into a couple of iRacers that were actually waiting in line. I've got a nice souvenir BMW bottle, but they were out there, the whole time running these two rigs.
You got to meet up with teammate Bobby Jonas in person. That was cool.
Yep, crashed on his couch both nights. We were going to stay in a camper, but he said something along the lines of it being broken. I got to meet, might as well talk about it. I got to meet Andy Lally in person, got to talk with him standing on pit lane. I also met his crew chief or strategy caller, Sean, who is actually one of the guys on Dinner with Racers. Got to visit with him for a little bit and got his card, and we're going to try to arrange something with him. One of their mechanics is also an avid iRacer and has a thread going that I'll probably talk about some next week. So it was a really neat experience. There was a lot of really cool stuff in the infield, some really good food. They had food trucks on the inside. I got up on the Ferris wheel and during the night and took a lot of pictures. It was all a great experience.
Do they charge you for the Ferris wheel? Is that like a separate charge?
Yeah, it was like $10. That there's a like almost a carnival on the inside, and even though on the outside or all of the concessions everywhere else were card only. They were refusing to take cash. The carnival was cash only.
You gotta have to know that going into it. But your pictures into the group chat this weekend inspired me to actually go to the Saturday portion of the Long Beach Grand Prix this year. I keep hearing IMSA's garage access is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, they had a grid walk at Daytona, and basically you could just walk right up to the cars, right up to the drivers, and say hi. You could go in the garages except for on race day. They did close them off during race day. All right, when I got home from the gym today, I noticed I almost didn't make one of the pre-Q races for majors because there was a patch. Brian?
Yeah, this patch was set for Friday at 8 a.m. So Thursday, well, there was one on Thursday the 26th. I think there was another one on Friday, though.
Yeah, we have two in this week.
There was two quick ones, yeah.
This is the first one.
Yeah, because I was working from home Friday, and I turned on my rig in the morning, and I did the one patch, and then like almost immediately had to do the second one. So it was pretty interesting. But the second patch was very short. It was literally just a hot fix for the to fix the wall snag with some troublesome bumps at turn 3 and 4 for the dirt track at Charlotte. Now, the World of Outlaws final race was at this track on the Monday following this patch. So I'm assuming they saw some issues with it and wanted to get it fixed before that finale.
And we might as well go over the second patch while we're talking about it. I just found it. Tire model fixed an issue for some cars where tire rubber was becoming unrealistically extra conditioned when driving over curbs and rumble strips. Surface model, soft surface model properties for gravel have been updated. New damage model, system-wide adjustment, and how the bodies that connect retain contact.
And
Daytona. So this is the big one. Daytona road course. Slowdown penalties have been added to the banked apron, and cones have been adjusted to show where it is safe to use the apron again. So there you go.
Wonder
the
what
reaction.
That's from.
Hey, question for you guys. Some of you are using the UI for the first time. Where do you guys do your updates from? Do you go from the website or from the UI?
I always go from the website.
Have any of you tried the UI yet for updates?
I've done both.
I haven't done it before on UI.
I'm finding that
fail in the UI.
Yes, like almost. I don't want to say all the time, but at least half the time you got to start it over, and then you get frustrated enough you go back to the website and do your downloads from there. I'm hoping we got a month to go, and I'm curious if they're going to keep the website open for stuff like that for updates and what they're gonna do.
It's just not as rock solid. I tell you what, I've always updated on the website, of course, because that's what I used. And knock on wood, I never really had a problem with the downloads. Every time it was this work. But then I converted to the beta UI, when they announced the website closing in March. And ever since then, I think it's failed 2, maybe 3 times. That's a lot, in that short amount of time.
Was there anything mentioned in there about restart zones? Because it's my understanding that the restart zones that they've taken them back off of official racing, and there's a bug with them being a little bit too sensitive.
No.
Because we've been doing majors pre-qualifying races all week, so the way you get in this Daytona 20 or Daytona 500 is you have to run basically 25 lap sprint races, and your best average finish essentially puts you either in the top split or the second split from your top 4 races. And most of them, granted, the guys having to hit a bunch of different buttons. Most of them, they've had the restart zones disabled now, but a couple of times they've missed it. And a couple of the times the leaders, not being aware of that particularly, have gotten busted for like going 83 miles an hour instead of 82 coming to the restart.
It reminds me, NASCAR did some rules changes recently, and one of those was they were expanding the restart zone to be longer or wider in certain tracks. And so I hope iRacing will adjust those as well.
A couple weeks to go. We'll be hitting NIS soon. So let's get this figured out.
Well, you mentioned it. Didn't they also get rid of the cautions at road courses during stages?
They did. But they're still going to have the stage like wins and points and awarded, but there's just no actual caution. They just stay green.
That's going to create another interesting strategy situation. It'll be nice.
So I always thought the cautions were to get more commercials in, but they throw so many commercials in anyway. I don't think it matters.
It's definitely for the ovals. That's the main reason for the stage breaks.
And then the ovals, they don't like them to get split up, So, all right, this next one I'll hit up a little bit. We're bringing down the hammer. iRacing short course penalizes 2 drivers, including Parker Retzlaff, for the back. They sent him to the back of the field for poor driving. We have a tweet from iRacing short course, which is at iRacing short on Twitter. And it says, during round 1 of the 2023 National Series, we've witnessed 2 T-bones for the race lead during laps 11 and 12. That would be the final lap. And after further review, the 31 of Parker Retzlaff will be penalized and move from 1st to 16th. The 23 of Nicholas Dachelet will also be penalized and move to 17th. We do not condone that type of racing. We strive to provide racers and viewers with a proper and clean short course race.
So what is short course? What are they referring to? What kind of racing is this?
It's probably like speedways.
Pro 4 trucks, the Wild West Motorsports track. And what was the other one?
I was just trying to get to the T-bone for the lead. I'm trying to figure out what, maybe do that in a hairpin? I don't know.
Well, I can see that happen easy because, hey, you're first and second's trying to get to the leader. He's right on him. They brake hard into the corner. Second is a little, tougher in on the brakes, and they're digging into the apex, which usually on these tracks is like a hard corner or a hard turn. And yeah, you would just T-bone into the guy, and that's how you usually make passes on these courses. But obviously they didn't like it. Now here's the news thing. If you go check today's tweet from the same Twitter handle, it says this: news, due to unforeseen issues, we will be postponing round 2 of the 2023 National Series. New dates will be announced shortly. We look forward to resuming next week with round 3.
So it must be a fairly prestigious league with Parker Retzlaff in it. A big name driver. He's a real world NASCAR driver, and so you have that brings a lot of prestige to your leagues, and for them to become bringing the hammer down like they are with these penalties, it looks like they're not putting up with a lot of nonsense.
It makes more sense now that it's off-road trucks. In my head reading this tweet.
I wonder what the unforeseen issues could be that you completely skip a week of sim racing. I mean, what can go wrong that you would have to, like, the only thing I can think of is
not everybody on the track.
People are not available or something, that it's a broadcasted event. Maybe the broadcasters are not available. I don't know. Maybe half the racers aren't available, but there's really no indication about why they would postpone a sim race. I just can't imagine what could come up that they would do such a thing. One guy's not available, so they postpone the event. I mean, that doesn't make sense either, does it? Or is it tied to the tweet we talked about before, where they decided to, penalize the leader on the last lap of the race and da 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 da?
I think the first one's more likely. But they might actually be available if they would just get all of their equipment and put it on a plane, right? What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, this beats snakes on a plane any day. So apparently, Max Verstappen is installing a sim rig on his Falcon 900EX private jet, which is pretty freaking cool. So if I had a private jet, I'm putting a rig on him as well. And Max is a hardcore sim racer, and he don't want to spend their time away from his rig when he's flying from place to place, which is awesome. Doesn't say what the rig is just yet. I'm sure it's going to be a good one because we've seen pictures of his sim rig cave before, and he's got a really nice setup. So just to give you a little bit of background, the Falcon 900EX goes for $43 million new. So it's a quite an expensive plane there. And yeah, so this is awesome. This makes me think of the times when I want to take my rig with me when we go on a camping trip. I haven't figured that one out yet.
So we found out the beans were spilled by Dr. Helmut Marko, who said, quote, the opposite is the case. He even had his private plane converted so that he can fly in a simulator in the air in the future. But that's a good thing too, because Max needs this distraction. In any case, it didn't do him any harm when it come to his 2 titles. And he's referring to flight sim that he's working on too.
My question would be is how's he get solid internet when he's flying like that? I mean, you're not getting good. You can't use a hotspot, and you can't. I don't know how you get good internet.
Flying laps or something. Practice.
Starlink.
Yeah, Starlink's the only thing I can think of, but that they have a lot of blackout areas that doesn't cover, and if you're on a couple 1,000-mile trip, it's bound to hit some dead spots, I would think.
They're
If he
supposed
flies
to
over my house, he can't.
Most of the blackout areas are now based on they just want to make it more available to more rural areas. They've been trying to do that.
Yeah, and Starlink, I believe, is going to be on some airlines coming up this year, or if not next year. So maybe he's got some early prototype of something with his jet. He could afford it, but he's awesome. He's awesome for sim racing. He's a great ambassador, and we need more people like him.
The cruise ship I was on a couple weeks ago had Starlink, so you could get state connected in the middle of the ocean. So I guess it could be done.
All right. I believe I remember you posting this one, Mike. We have a Mark Malone, or no, Matt Malone video. Pretty dramatic.
Yeah, stock cars at Talladega, typical. They're too wide, and he's at the front of the outside lane, and he's getting push, even through the corner, and they push him basically into the middle, which is what happens when you get in the middle, you fall back. So they split him, and they broke him. They broke to the outside of him, and he's in the middle, falling back, and what's funny about the clip that really gets me is he's kind of yelling out like, stay in the throttle to try to save it, because he's sawing the wheel back and forth trying to keep it in the middle, and finally he kind of loses it. He's like, son of a bitch, really loud. It was funny. You had to be there.
It was a heck of a save though before that crash. That was a hell of a save.
Just watching him work the wheel back and forth was pretty crazy. Was this ARCA at Talladega?
Yeah, and there's no caution,
yeah.
so you have to save it or your race is over.
I mistakenly ran one of these this week and donated a bunch of IR to it, but son tried to talk me out of it, but I was like, heck, why not?
Okay, I'm going to try it again. He says, you son of a bitch. It's a good sound clip. Like, we should put that on a button.
I don't think it would really fit well with Tony's soundboard, though. He's got, but I mean, everything he has is mostly stuff that you say.
Well, that's why I was trying to say it, but it didn't come out as well as Matt did it. So go check out Matt Malone. What's neat about what Matt does as a content creator is he's using YouTube's new vertical videos. They're called YouTube Shorts, and it's a perfect format because it's a short video to begin with. And what he's doing is he's putting his reaction video or his face on the bottom part of the video, and then the replay of the actual racing on the top part of the video. And it's kind of neat because you can see both things at the same time, and it's a neat format.
You know, the YouTube short started, like I didn't look at them because the videos were so odd, but I think it finally picked up my personality. I get nothing but hot chicks swinging golf clubs, so
Right, the bikini shots are all over, right?
took a few weeks.
All right, I'm going to speed on to the next one that's just actually about slowing iRacing down. Boy, I'm going to slaughter this name. Ika Hapala, he tweeted that after watching the real Daytona 24, iRacing needs to slow down all the classes. He noted that the BMW LMDHs, that's not right, they're GTPs in America, were at least 4 seconds too fast, and the same goes for the other classes. I did notice that the GTPs were getting a slightly slower time than we got in real life. I wasn't paying attention to the lap times of the other races or classes as much because they weren't talking about those lap times on the radio coverage. What I particularly noticed is that the way the hybrid system is operating was completely different than what iRacing has. They were talking about having basically a limited amount of energy they could spend per stint. And so if they boosted more, they couldn't use all their fuel even. And then also a couple of times they got warnings from the stewards for deploying too much in one lap. Whereas in iRacing, if you hit 100% of the max that you can deploy in a lap, it just wouldn't deploy anymore. So the hybrid system that they were using was nothing like it is implemented currently in iRacing, where they basically just copied the system from the Formula car. That's important to note when they're talking about the lap time speeds. I don't know about the other two classes.
So, what did you? I'm sorry. What did you think of the lap times? Did you even notice anything different?
Well, when you're watching, you're not gonna care about that.
I thought the same. Yeah,
they're either fast or they're slow. It's just, but yes, we do want to get iRacing as close as possible. But what I'm saying is that's going to be a definite challenge on the BMW. Plus, we're going to have to see how it runs at other tracks as well before they really make those decisions. But on the LMP ones, or no, the DTPs, the hybrid system is just not working at all like it does in real life. So unless they model that correctly, it's irrelevant, I guess is the best way to say it.
Makes sense. In iRacing, I haven't driven the BMW. Does it start off electric and then explode with the combustion like it does in real life?
Not really. In fact, it just runs. It kind of does like the F1 does. It runs on gas, and it just gives you extra horsepower from the battery when it's available, and it's using a computer that's just telling it when to boost to keep you at around either 50% or 0% or 100%, depending on which mode you choose. And there's no manual control option now in the way they copied it, unlike there was with the LMPs, where you could actually tell it when to boost yourself. I've done okay with it, but I don't particularly like it because it wastes. You don't want to really use your electric energy when you're in 6th and 7th gear. It's just not as efficient. It's better to use that energy in the lower gears and then just let have more energy available for the lower gears instead of wasting it on the front stretch when you got so much wind resistance in your face.
Some of the replies. Oh, sorry, Donnie. I was going to say some of the replies here. Richard Towler said there's far too much grip in all classes. The cars need way more finesse as the downforce falls off. And Hapala did reply back. The LMDH specifically also has way too much peak downforce, but I assume it's going to get adjusted now that there's more data. We can absolutely fly through the chicane in iRacing at the moment.
Yeah. Additionally, the track has more grip in iRacing than it does in real life now.
Yeah, the Ferrari we drove for the Team Fun. I mean, unless you got hit by somebody, that thing was impossible to wreck. It had a lot of grip, and the tires lasted forever. But that Cadillac, back to the sound and how it works, kind of gave me hope for whenever NASCAR eventually makes a transition to their hybrid. But the Cadillac, I liked.
I actually liked how the BMW sounded the best.
Are they a V8 too? Is the BMW a V8?
I think they all are. But it was neat. I hope they adjust the. I hope they can find a little bit more about how the hybrid system works and eventually implement that instead of just leaving the copy of the Formula One. All right. Mike, take the. Oh no, this one actually I should throw to Brian. We've got another one gone that is related to the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup.
Yeah, that's right. And we lose another driver from that Porsche Super Cup series. This time it's Kevin Ellis Jr. He tweeted a statement that quote, due to other competitions and commitments, I have decided that my journey as a Peace Pro world class driver on iRacing will come to an end after 6 seasons. So he's pulled out of the Porsche Tag Heuer Super Cup series. Just the latest in a run. It really all started when Coanda pulled out and their team really started pulling out of this series. And now with the new Rensport stuff coming up, he doesn't actually. I don't think he says exactly where he's going. He just says he's got.
Yeah, he does say Rensport will become my full focus as it paves the way for sim racing to finally get onto the world stage and move out of this niche it's been trapped in.
Okay, sorry, that part was cut off from my screen, but so just another driver heading to Rensport and seeing where it goes from there.
I think there are some drivers that are doing both Porsche Super Cup and Rensport, but this guy is going exclusive to Rensport. So good luck to him.
Yeah, there's no requirement from Rensport, which I like. I almost want to support them a little bit since they're not doing the exclusivity BS that MSG is. But still, it's up to each driver to decide how much they want to commit their time into each software. And also, if you're focusing on one set of software, it may actually be hard to switch back and forth between the two sims. But ultimately, it's just a matter of how much time do you have as well.
So what sim are we talking about? Has anyone ever seen this sim? Oh, I guess that leads into the next topic, David.
Yeah, they tweeted a reply or an apology that they're delaying the beta version of their sim, and if I remember reading this, they basically said they're going to focus on making sure it works for the league that they're running, the Premier League that they're running first before they put it out to public beta. Which, I mean, what does that mean if it's not even being beta tested yet? It still kind of blows my mind that all these guys are committing to software that's not even done yet.
So the event's gonna run. They're gonna run. I hope they've been beta testing on their own. Maybe some of their drivers have been testing it out. But
it's called alpha testing.
Yeah. So the event's still gonna happen February 11th and 12th. But they put out that letter saying that they're not gonna be ready for beta at the beginning of February. I to give them a little credit, kind of saying what you were saying earlier about exclusivity and whatnot, but for them to just say, hey, we're not ready, and be honest and open about it instead of just throwing some piece of crap out there and then it completely tanking, at least they're being a little upfront with their potential consumer and letting them know they're not ready, but we're still going to run the event and see how it goes.
Well, they specifically said they want to make sure that they don't mess the event up before they focus on putting out the beta out to the public.
Yeah, except that beta turns out to be crap, then their event, most likely won't be good. So let's see how their event goes and then go from there.
So if you were on our Discord channel this week, you would have seen a conversation with me and Dr. Orzi about just this. And us discussing, like, who is behind the money? I want to follow the money. I mean, we're talking €500,000 in a for a league, for a league race or league races or league events, for a closed group on software that isn't even ready yet, in the next couple weeks, it starts. So I don't think we got a good answer on who's paying for it. I mean, Dr. Orsi did say that um, they're from Poland and that these events, the first events that they're having, are also in Poland. So perhaps the money's coming from there somehow.
So is this right? It says that they're starting February 11th and 12th.
Yeah, that's like not even 2 weeks.
That's like it's like a week and a half away.
That-
These
that's-
guys aren't. These guys aren't even on this practice. Can't even practice yet. And they've already had one delay already. Who's to say it won't happen again? I mean, I have no confidence that this is gonna come off well. I mean, and beta testing is where you find out where all the kinks, where all the bugs are, and all the little niches that go wrong. And there's not gonna nowhere near enough time to flush all that stuff out. It's insane. I don't get it. I mean, I know money talks, and apparently it's talking to a lot of these drivers that are leaving iRacing and maybe some of the other race sims out there. But I mean, I I don't know if I would want to be attached to this with the uncertainty that's involved. It's crazy.
So I'm on their website right now, which is kind of clunky and loud, but I'm trying to look for a schedule for their series. Do we even know anything about the series? How long it is? Where they're racing?
It's GT3 cups, GT3 cars at like regular F1 tracks. I think that's what I remember.
And I think in our own group chat this weekend, we kind of, I don't know, we weren't dismissive of it, but we kind of potentially put this in the Gran Turismo class compared to, an iRacing type sim.
Right. Is it a game or is it a sim, right?
Yeah, they're using Unreal Engine 5. Ultra realistic racing, it says, on Unreal Engine 5.
We'll see.
Is that
is this?
I'm sorry. Does that mean ultra realistic graphics viewing, or does it ultra realistic true to life performance of the cars and the tracks and all? iRacing's out there scanning cars and getting telemetry from the actual cars and scanning the tracks within a millimeter of accuracy. What kind of accuracy in real life driving are they going to bring? Is it just an eye candy thing, or or are they really that invested in getting a true to life driving experience?
I think we also talked about in the Discord. I can't find it, but is this competition to iRacing? And for me, it's not, because of the depth of iRacing, the dirt, the oval, the road, all the different cars, all the different tracks. I mean, there's so many different disciplines. When this thing comes out, it's got one kind of car class on just a few tracks. I mean, that's not competition.
I mean,
Yeah, and the history. Sorry, Dave, and the history of it too. iRacing's been around for what, 12 years now. I mean, they've had a lot of time to perfect this thing where it is now. And we know there's bugs in it now that pop up every once in a while, but that's after 12 years of development, and this isn't even 12 days.
All right, guys. We used to put this at the front of the race. I guess y'all decided to cover it a little bit later, maybe because it's not one of the main season events. But the Coke race, Coke season's kicked off with the Clash this weekend, Mike and Brian.
Well, it's a non-points event. We're going to have Evan come on and discuss it with us again, like last year, but he was not available this week, but did pledge to get with us on the Daytona week coming up. So let's talk a few notes about the event. The entire race was really a race of yeet or be yeeted. The heat races and the consolation didn't have any cautions, and someone was usually getting sent most of the time. I mean, that's how passes were getting made and that kind of thing. So Heat 1, Garrett Lowe wins. Ryan Luza was able to set sail to win the second heat with ease. And then a rookie statement made by Timothy Holmes that he dominates Heat 3. It was pure chaos in the 40-lap consolation. Parker Retzlaff and Garrett Maines were battling for the lead amongst lap traffic. Top 7 would advance. Keister ended up 7th, and he did what he had to do. It was like bar rules. I mean, he was 8th. I don't remember who got sent, but somebody definitely got sent for him to get to the transfer spot. On to the main event. Guess what? It's Casey Kerwin, our current champion, and he won the LA Coliseum last year as well. So second time winner in the LA Coliseum, and our returning champ gets it done.
Yeah, I was watching this. I knew we weren't going to get a special event on it. I beat that horse to death earlier this year, but yeah, I thought, man, for sure I open. I hop on and it's not there.
You want to give up your I rating in SR?
You know, at a point, who cares? Let's just have fun. But I did watch a lot of it, and I was curious on the passing, and you were pretty spot on. Watching this in person last year, that's how they were making their passes. The dive bombs you can see coming all the way down the straightaway. I remember specifically Austin Cindric last year. But yeah, so I'll be out there again this Sunday and see how it goes.
Well, you nailed it on the head on why I'm not going to race it, because it's not going to be fun. It's going to be a caution every 2 laps.
Exactly. I mean, this is a track. This is half the size of Martinsville, and Martinsville is 60 to 70% cautions whenever you race there. So there's just no way that and these guys are the best of the best, and they're doing this. Can you imagine what the rubes like us will be like on there? Oh my God!
And you guys are absolutely right, and they probably know that, and that's why it's not a race.
I like this event. It's non-point. It gives those rookies coming in a chance to race with the veteran drivers in the Coke Series. And, the first time to kind of mix it up on track together, who's rubbing who, who's going forward, who's going backwards, who's wrecking who. I think it's a neat way to start the season.
Yeah, speaking of the recklessness, I mean, even the real racers last year in the Cup Series were dumping people left and right.
Larson hip checking Haley last year was pretty impressive. Hip checking right into the inside wall.
I think you didn't want to be on the outside most of the race. If you got to the inside, you were hip checking the guy to the wall. So you always wanted to be on the inside from what I saw in this race.
Well, we were talking just a minute ago about how sim is this new game going to be. And Alfredo posted a video, another simulation versus reality video that really just shows how sim iRacing is, because I've seen video after video after video, both in oval and road, where you can basically see a real life racer driving on iRacing and then in his car and basically looking the exact same. About the only thing that makes me be able to tell it which one is not iRacing is the fact that his windshield's so dirty.
It's dirty, and it's got a crappy camera he's using in real life there, catching all that light. But yeah, you're right, David. Perfect.
But this is to the story we did before. The lap time is perfectly matched in this Xfinity car, from sim to reality. In the new BMW, sim to reality, we're 4 seconds off. So I really hope they take some of that data and make some adjustments.
Well, they will. And like the guy said in the replies, they don't have a whole lot of data yet. And additionally, they don't have the hybrid system working the same. So they're always making adjustments, both on the balance of power and whenever they get more data. But that's the first time they have real race data. Next up, Mike, we have a teaser for a new track, and somebody says they think it's Rainbow Road. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, so we got a picture put out, I think it was today, of from iRacing that shows the scan, and it's all in purple colors, like it's a heat signature picture or something like that. But you can see the scoring pylon, you can see the stands and some of the track, and it's very obvious that this track is Circuito de Jerez, and that is a racetrack that is in Spain.
Yeah, it's used a lot for MotoGP. I was actually against it being Jerez earlier today, and I'm because that hairpin doesn't look the right angles. But I'm pretty convinced now that it is Jerez.
So this is our second Spanish track, right? We got this one and the what's the other F1 track from Spain?
Barcelona.
Right. Well, good. And so do F1 race at Jerez? I don't know.
No.
Okay. So who races there? You said the motorcycles, right?
MotoGP. Yeah. I mean, they race cars there, but F1. F1 could go there, but they just haven't yet.
Now, is iRacing going to Europe and scanning this track, or how are they getting the scan? I don't know. I don't think we figured that one out. Are they buying the scan? I know they bought one when it was the Red Bull track, right?
I imagine they probably bought the scan because I feel like this was on Project Cars, so I think it exists somewhere.
Though there's not as much restriction travel now, so I mean they'll do it probably though when they think it's cost effective if they can trust the data.
But you know what? With them posting this picture like that and seeing that data like that a million times in other aspects, I mean that could very well be their scan data that they're showing us.
That's a good point. If they did buy it, it might be inappropriate to show, the data or the unfinished product before it's finished. I don't know.
All right, next up we have a post from Overtake where they're showing somebody's heart rate as they're sim racing. Now this person is really getting to it because I've posted some of these before and my heart rate will get up to about 110, 120, but I'm also actually in pretty good shape. So I guess the wheel is not that much of a workout, but I've never had my heart rate get all the way up to 160, or is that 116? I think that's a 160, isn't it?
Yeah, somewhere between 140 and 160 is where he says his beats per minute were for the 2.4 hours of Daytona sim race. While when he was doing a heavy bag punching for 1 hour, his heart rate was below 140. And when he did a 30-minute morning exercise, he was around, it looks like 110 to 120.
Have you guys punched a heavy bag? That's a workout if you're actually doing it for an hour.
Yeah, when I'm powerlifting, I'll peak between 120 and 140 on my rate.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not saying I don't buy this, but I'm with David.
I don't buy it.
My heart rate is usually resting in the 60s, and to get to 160, I got to be doing something fun.
Well, sim racing's fun, but I don't think I'm getting to 160. I mean, I think I'm getting to 120, 130 maybe at the most. Yeah, I'm sure my heart rate is a little bit elevated because I'm focused. Sometimes I'm holding my breath a lot, especially like on a Dover. You're breathing on the back stretch and the front stretch only. At least that's what I do. Sometimes at Bristol I do that. And so yes, my heart rate is elevated, but I don't think I'm like 100% sure it's not above 140.
I'll do it for Daytona. I'm curious now, but I'll be honest. My wife has caught me when I'm racing, and she'll videotape me from behind because she'll hear my breathing change during different aspects of the race. And I know plate racing for me, especially if you're up front, it can be pretty stressful. And there's times where I'll hold my breath, just like you're saying, and and she can hear something like just not right. She'll come in and start videotaping. It's kind of funny, and ridiculous at the same time.
Now he may have the force feedback turned up at such a high rate that he is actually really working his forearms. But like I said, I usually settle around 110, maybe 110, 120 and 100 if I'm running a race.
I'm going to pay attention now.
I'm going to digress just a hair because this reminds me of something I was doing last night during the winter NIS. Is nobody was in the house, so I was cranking the sound, and I turned on my decibel meter on my iPhone, and I was peaking at 130 decibels with the average peak around 120 decibels. Now I have these headsets on protecting my hearing, and the headset, the only thing coming through it is the spotter and the driver chat. But it was just screaming. I just had that baby just screaming. It sounds like an engine, underneath you. And I told the people in the room, man, this is immersion, man. I think everyone's missing out on how much immersion you're missing from sound alone. We all wear headsets, and it's not too bad with a headset, or if you have computer speakers and you're playing it softly, but it's not the same when you can feel the sound, going right into you.
It's not immersion until your neighbors are immersed with you.
That's right. Damn it.
Right.
I'm in an apartment, so I have to be a little bit careful, but I still feel the sound with my butt kicker combined with the headphones.
Well, that's the thing. The butt kicker with the loud sound. I mean, it just all clicks together, and it's like, wow, this is awesome.
Goals, dreams, one day.
So Mike, when you have it that loud, are you able to chat at all? I mean, there's no way you can chat, right?
Interestingly, I think people hear me just fine. I think the mic is directional enough, and
probably sounds like Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder, just yelling the whole time.
Yeah, Mike's always clear on the mic when he's on TeamSpeak anyway.
But remember, I have that $500, 12-inch living room woofer hooked to LFE out of the sim. It's not even hooked to the regular audio output. It's hooked directly to LFE. So I'm gotten some crazy stuff going out of that sub. And then I got my Harman Kardon computer speakers, just like I said, screaming at 120, 130 decibel.
All right, let's see if we can hear you talk a little bit about Woo Week 10, Brian.
All right, so this is championship week for World Outlaws on Monday night at the track at Charlotte. Coming into the race, Alex Bergeron held like about a 30-point lead over second place Tyler Schell, and that seemed like a pretty comfortable lead for a driver the caliber of Bergeron. Well, Schell actually wound up qualifying second and winning his heat, so he was starting the feature on the outside pole. Well, Bergeron had a terrible qualifying run. He started P6 on his heat race, and he did not get in the top four, so he did not even transfer to the main event, which put him into the LCQ last chance qualifier, which he had to finish first or second just to make the main. So that was really interesting to watch, because you're like, this whole thing could be, the whole race could be mute if Bergeron doesn't make it out of the last chance qualifier. Well, he wound up running away with the win in his LCQ, which started him in 17th place in the feature. So Tyler Schell was starting in second. Bergeron was starting in 17th, and that was a big enough gap that Schell was going to have the championship points lead virtually as the race started. Alex really would need to come up through the field quite a bit, or have Tyler Schell have some problems. So as the race went on, Bergeron did make up some spots early. He got into the top 8 and was running. And there was a point where it was awesome, because Bergeron was in a group of 3 or 4 drivers going 3 wide in these turns, and he get by 2-0, and he would take the championship lead, and then he would fall back, and then Schell would lose a spot or 2, and then Bergeron would be back on top of the points lead. So it was crazy like that for about 5 or 6 laps, where where you just didn't know how it was going to end. It could have been like down to the very last position. Um, but a little later in the run, Bergeron actually lost a little speed. He fell back to 10th, and Tyler Schell actually wound up getting past the leader and winning the race in a really close finish with James Edens. So with that was his first win of the season, I should say. So he wins the very last race, which he almost had to win to take this championship. And with Bergeron falling to 10th, he sure did. So made up a huge gap in points on the last race. Bergeron got 0 points in the heat by not qualifying. Man, it was just a really fantastic race. All congratulations to Tyler Schell for taking this victory. He had a great last race. When all the money on the table, he really came through and won this race. So in that race itself, it was Schell first, Edens in second, and third place went to Aiden Forster. And the championship points wound up like this, with Tyler Schell on the top of the points, with Alex Bergeron finishing 8 points behind him for second place, and Timothy Smith finished the season in place in points. Really, really great race. I probably didn't do it justice how exciting it was, but you can always go back to iRacing's YouTube channel and watch it for yourself. It was quite a race. The guys did an excellent job calling it.
So if you're Alex Bergeron, do you want the spotter telling you, dude, you need one more spot? To get into the championship, dude, you just lost it. That one spot was what we need that back. Do you want that in your ear every lap?
No.
Yeah, probably not. It's probably just you just know you got to make up as many positions as you can. It doesn't, you know you're going for as many positions as you can.
Well, Alex knew he had probably lost his championship when he didn't do well in the heat, right? I mean, it was stacked against him at that point.
Yeah, but I probably think that he figured once he started moving up the field in the feature, when he started 17th, was in the top 10, he might have thought, I really got a good chance, because, if he finished in the top 7, it didn't matter where Tyler Schell finished, he was going to win. And he was getting close to that P7 position, and then it just kind of lost it at the end. I don't know if he overdrove or what, but he just kind of lost it and couldn't make up that ground.
It's been a really good season, Brian. Listening to you each time talk about these races, and it's been very competitive. I would say ultra competitive, with different people winning. Our champion not even winning till the final race. I mean, there were a lot of people throughout the season that ran well.
Yeah, and BC Smith had a really good season. He was the points leader for a little while. He was another one who didn't win until I think week 8, and he was in the points lead like that. James Eden had a great season. He won the most races, but he just had too many issues. I would say that James Eden has probably the best speed overall if he can just stay out of trouble.
Right.
Well, now that we've wrapped up the dirt season, we also have Porsche Tag Heuer coming up, Brian.
Yeah, so it starts this weekend, the Porsche Tag Heuer Super Cup Series. Diego Pinto was last year's winner. He's back. Sebastian Job is also back. He finished P2 last year. I think it's going to be a great season with these two guys, because Job had a good second half of the season, but he just wasn't good early. He had some issues early in the season and lost a lot of points, and he just couldn't make it up by the end. And Pinto was very solid every week, just good finishes after good finishes. So looking forward to this series. It's always been a really competitive season, especially since some of the Coanda guys left that were really dominant. And so it's good racing in the Porsche Series coming up, starting this weekend.
Yeah, they'll have that.
And then they're going to have, sorry, Donnie, they're going to have the All-Star Series, which is like the pre-event. They say returning Emily Imring Jones, who was the title winner last year. is returning, as well as other newcomers to the series, such as Basic Ollie, Dave Cam, our favorite guy, Dave Cam, Love 46, and Kenny 500, Tony Kanon as well. Other Porsche Motorsports drivers from Real Racing, including Junior Lauren Heinrich from Germany.
And I think Will Ford was racing that last year from Boosted Media. He was in it a couple times. So I think Jimmy Broadbent was in there a few races at least. So it's cool that they're bringing in not just the top tier iRacers, but some of the content creators that we all know and love. So that's really cool too.
Yeah, I like it as like a warm up event for the actual event. But 200,000 prize pool for the Cup, or not the Cup series, but the main Porsche series. So that's pretty cool. It's not far off that major sim that's supposed to come out later this month, but 200,000 is not bad.
And if you want to read up on this, overtake.gg and newsroom.com both have really good season previews that you can really get into before the races fire up again.
All right, it looks like we're kind of sort of moving into the events section now, starting with the BMW Sim Cup. Wow, almost need to cut that one out.
That's a title idea.
Wow, what a mess up there. That one's hilarious. We'll have to leave that one in, actually. The BMW Sim Cup, and it kicks off this weekend with new cars, categories, prize money, and schedule. It shows up to more than $45,000 worth of prize money. Obviously, it's going to be running the LMDH now with the GT3 BMW. There's a 10 race season schedule that kicks off this weekend with Daytona, and there's just one split. One start time, and it is at, what was it, 2:00 Central European time?
Tom Dreiling had asked our group, who wants to run this with him. I don't know if he got any takers.
Well, it's 7 a.m. on Sunday mornings, basically for us. Well, 7 a.m. Central. So it's 8 a.m. Eastern on Sunday mornings. So that's kind of a maybe. It's kind of spread out. So I might talk to him. We also have another event coming up we'll talk about in a second. It's running Daytona, Sebring, Road America, Nuremberg GP, which is a fun track. That's the short track. Watkins Glen, Spa, Fuji, Road Atlanta, and a TBA and Suzuka.
Remember, we said last week the TBA might be Monaco, or that's what some people were thinking.
Or that other track that we just talked about.
Yeah, maybe it's the Jerez.
Be so strange if Monaco's is just here's Monaco.
Yeah, you would think they would make a big deal out of releasing Monaco.
Well, while we're hitting the events, we also have the Bathurst 12 coming up. It's going to be the same starting times. It's going to be at Mount Panorama. GT3 cars only this time. License D Road, and it starts February 5th.
Any of us running it?
I will be. Whether I don't know if anybody else from here is running it, or if I'll end up teaming up with some Mad Sim guys.
What car are you running?
Isn't this a race that Greg usually starts and then wrecks out shortly after, and then you never finish?
That was actually in the other one, the 1,000, which is in the
the 1,000. Yeah.
It's a tough, unforgiving track because it's all up in the hills, going up and down the mountain. If you miss your car, there's no going off track. You miss and you're in a wall.
I can attest to this. I was actually leading at Bathurst for the first time in the Skip Barber car, and I screwed up going down the hill and put it in the wall and lost the win. It sucked.
And Donnie, as far as to which car I'm running, I don't know yet. I guess there's not a whole point in deciding which one's going to be OP because they're going to turn around and be OP it anyway. But it'll kind of depend on what the other guys want to run. I do like the new Merc. It's pretty drivable. So that's a pretty good possibility.
Podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review of your favorite on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for other listeners to find us. Mention that podcast to your other fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We do appreciate it. Join the discussion on our Discord channel and our website, iRacersLounge.com. We are in regular rotation at the Performance Motorsports Network and iRock TV on Roku TV.
All right, next up we got hardware, sponsored by Metro Ford. The first one we've got, what's this? It's not a Formula wheel. It's a WRC TCR wheel. Tell us a little bit about it, Mike.
Well, it's modeled after the Hyundai i30 World Rally car, like Ken Block kind of thing, along with the i30 TCR cars made in Simline's own style with good electronics based on PCB and enclosed in an aluminum housing. Big old button box on an oval wheel, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, it's actually, well, at least if as far as an oval wheel, sometimes it can be a little bit easier to get to those buttons because most of them are going to be out of your thumb reach, right?
Yeah, this
So-
isn't quite as big as a NASCAR oval rim. It's not deep dish either, but I saw something very similar to this on a rally car not too long ago here in town, and I didn't even think it was a thing, but here I'm seeing it now. So I wonder if you could put this on any wheel you want, or does it come with the wheel? Looks like it comes with the wheel. 578.
Now I can't see paddles. Does it have paddles?
Yeah, there's paddles on it. They show a backside of it, and yeah, I mean it's not a deep dish, so the paddles will be there. So I want to see paddles on a deep dish to see what that's going to look like and feel like. But yeah, and I don't hate this wheel.
458 euros. What are the little white boxes next to the push buttons? Are those just for labels, or what are those?
I think labels because it's all backlit.
Yeah, labels. It comes with the label sheet, all the mounting hardware and the cable. Yeah, labels for sure.
So this is it says new steering wheel, so it's a new item apparently.
Yeah, they're having
Now, I think. Sorry, Donnie. I was going to say the manufacturer appears to be Simline, and it's sold though at raceanywhere.co.uk.
Next up, Donnie, we've got a review of some hydraulic sim pedals.
Yeah, so this is Asatek's hydraulic pedals, the Invicta hydraulic. The Sim Racing Den offered their review of the Asatek Invicta hydraulic pedals. They look nice. They don't look like your traditional hydraulic pedal set, but this is Asatek coming out with all their products, it seems like, over the last few months. But like everything else they've put out, looks pretty good, but we'll see how it works going in the future. It's a different design with the hydraulic, like I mentioned, but it doesn't look bad.
So one thing that's come out in these review videos is when you're using the pedals and your heel is on the heel plate, there's like a lip there where the heel plate kind of ends and the rest of the pedal begins. It kind of goes up. You see it kind of angle up there. And apparently as you're pushing on the pedal, and letting it go, and your heel is transitioning off of the heel plate onto the other piece, and it can feel awkward, says the reviewer.
Yeah. In the video, rips his shoe off, but I'm looking at that heel plate, and it's like a ramp. It like ramps up to the pedal. Mine's a 90-degree, and it just stops my foot from moving. This one looks like it encourages your foot to move up towards the pedal.
Right, like this, like you said, the seal or the sole of his shoe would literally kind of get caught in that little crack. And this is such a problem with these particular pedals that I've actually seen over on the Etsy store at Sim Racing Gadget, I think is the name of it. He's actually developed a 3D printed piece that inserts into the crack to eliminate the problem.
Yeah, do you see what I mean by ramp? How it looks like it ramps upward towards the pedal. So if you were to
Yeah,
slip,
it's a weird design. And you would that they would have designed it a little bit differently. Like as soon as it gets out for reviewers, it's the first thing that everyone says. Oh, my heel's getting caught. My heel's getting caught. I, I've had multiple people say this, not just one video. So, and then there's, like I said, I found a piece that somebody's selling just for the problem. So you'd think that they would have caught this during design and development, but
honestly,
not a big deal.
This company came out of nowhere, it seemed like, and they put a lot of product out quickly. I could, I could just assume they put out a lot of product quickly.
Now, I'm going to tease some upcoming for next week, but Dave Cam has put out that he got their wheelbase, and he's going to be doing a review video on it shortly. So in the next week or two, we're going to hear from Dave Cam about what he thinks about their direct drive wheel, at least. The pictures he put up of it mounted on his rig, I told him, man, it really looks good. It's got a good look to it. And these pedals really kind of have a good look to it, too. But looks aren't everything, right?
Not always.
And it says the guy who buys everything based on how it looks.
That's right.
All right, this next one looks pretty neat, especially if you're in the market for a sequential sifter. It's the S6 sequential sifter. It's compatible with the PC. It comes with a mounting plate, and it's plug USB and play. It's got a bolt plunger feedback mechanism. I don't know what that means. Its shifting type is micro switches, and it has a lever for a fast neutral gear. I'm guessing that's what the extra little handle or lever on the end is for quickly switching to neutral instead of having to jump through all this. I'm literally going to ask that what that is for until I saw that. And it is aluminum. It's 34 centimeters tall. I'm not going to convert that to inches.
It's 13.3 inches.
I was going to go 6, but
€260.
Yep, they'll also quote you your shipping if you ask them. It looks like it. It's a standard look that I see on a lot of sequential shifters, which is basically a lever, right?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to them, especially internally. But this Fanatec, I got to probably replace soon. So I'm in the market. I don't know if I want to go overseas for sequential, but I don't know. I'll be looking for one soon, maybe.
I can't recommend enough the Russian Ailogs, AILOGS. The one I have, you saw it, Donnie. It's pretty small, but it's got a good feel to it. So when you switch gears, it feels like you're on a real sequential shifter. At least it does to me. And they have a matching handbrake if you wanted to get both. But yeah, I can't recommend them enough. This looks like a decent unit, but it doesn't have like the box like mine does, that the handle goes into. It just goes right down to a mounting bracket, basically. So it's pretty straightforward.
Not a terrible price, though. All right, let's jump into some software, Mike. SimiCube 2 Test Drive has been released. Or True Drive, not Test Drive, True Drive.
Yeah, I was hoping this was the release I was waiting for, like the big one that they teased when they released their active pedals. But no, it's not a major update. It's a minor update. I did install it. I didn't have any problems. It came out, I think, January 13th. So I just wanted to point out to everybody with the SimiCube, hey, time to update your software.
Yeah, and they've got some releases actually going back to 22. So this is not brand new software. It's just an update, I'm guessing.
Yeah, minor update. I didn't notice any differences, really.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of bug fixes and adjustments. And this one is also right up your alley, Mike, because you're always our FOV guy. So go ahead and take this one.
Yeah, I found some good nuggets on FOV that I thought were pertinent. from none other than, I think, David Tucker from the staff. He wrote, so the rule of thumb is you want your monitor just a touch closer to your face than it is wide. Naturally, a smaller monitor is going to be closer to your face. 27-inch monitors are about the smallest you could get and still hit the 180 degrees and do that. You probably need to compromise on your seating position by sitting more upright and closer to the wheel than you probably would want to normally. And then also watch out for aspect ratios when it comes to picking triples. You really want you want as square an aspect ratio as possible. If you can't find them anymore, you can't find them anymore, but the older 4x3 monitors were perfect for triple monitors because they give a high vertical FOV. But going with an ultra wide monitor setup would result in a very short vertical FOV, and you would be completely unable to see the dash. So when you're thinking triples, I mean, if you're doing triple ultra wides, you got to remember you're sacrificing that vertical FOV, which is just as important.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I have 27-inch monitors, and I think I'm 26.5 inches away. My ball is from the screen, so that's pretty spot on from what he's saying in that top paragraph.
Yeah, and then the angle of your left and right, Donnie, is going to be really just how close you can get your eyeball to that screen. Like you said, you're right at 26.5, but if you could get it to 24, you could really angle in the left and right even more than they are now.
But
you got to do what's comfortable.
Yeah, I'm at 60 degrees for my side monitors. I feel that's okay.
I think I'm 54.
I did get to see what it looks like to sit in a triple monitor rig over at Bobby's. However, it's hilarious the difference in our size there, and I basically barely reach his pedals.
Well, wasn't your eyeball not in the center of his monitor, but at the bottom of his monitor?
At the bottom as well. Yeah, Bobby's tall, very tall.
Were you able to see over his wheel?
Yeah. It was funny though. It would be if we ever did like a 24-hour Le Mans, we'd almost have to swap the seat, or I'd have to throw in a child booster when I'm racing with him. Anyway, Brian, it's not a iRacers Lounge podcast without a Formula Wheel these days.
That's right, and we got another one this week. It's no different. So this one is from a company called VPG Sim. It's a UK British company, and we're looking at the new VRSPG Pro Formula Wheel. So it's got the LCD screen on it, lots of buttons. There's a regular VRSPG that this is very similar to, except it's got a lot of the backlit LED stuff on it, which is really around the buttons and the switches. Nice, comfortable looking grip to it. It's running at 1,449 pounds, 1,449 pounds. You can specify whether you want blue lights or white lights, and then for extra 25 pounds, you can actually get custom lighting, LED lighting on it, which is pretty cool.
1,449 euros, or is it pounds?
It's pounds. Yeah.
Okay. And this is a refinement of their original wheel, as you mentioned, and they're calling it the Pro. So 6 months later, they got different grips or new grips based on driver feedback. They got Sim Hub supported display, and I really like those red rotary buttons. Man, those look solid, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these wheels are just so nice looking. They all look really good. Um, I wouldn't even know where to start if I was in the market for one of these.
That's the thing. There's so many to choose from. It's just like, oh my God, where do you look? They're all about the same price.
Yeah, start with your budget, and then wherever your budget hits, do you want a screen? Do you not want a screen?
All right, talking about budget, how about this next one, David?
This one's hilarious. Why go buy some 80/20 if you've recently had a kid that's just outgrown their cradle? You can actually just take all the material from the cradle and turn it into a rig. In fact, at the beginning of this video, you can hear the child's voice, and then he shows the build where he basically takes all the parts, basically takes the wood from the cradle and repurposes it into a rig. It's kind of Formula One seating style, and it's pretty neat, except for the sad little monitor that he's running with the rig.
It's actually pretty spectacular. He's running Logitech pedal and wheel, so there's probably not going to be a whole lot of feedback to rip that thing apart. But you know what? This gives me inspiration for when I finally buy that jet I've been looking for. That this will probably be the rig I'll be able to afford to put in there. But to start, I mean, that's maybe $100 at Lowe's to pick up.
So you're going to put $100 rig in a $41 million jet.
Well, the jet took all my money.
That's almost like
left.
It's like when Mike won't buy a track,
Buy the $10 track,
even though he has a $10,000 rig.
That's funny. This was like an IKEA rig, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, but watching him work the pedals, it was great. The thing looked awesome.
So it's actually not a crib, but a child's bed, and you can get it at IKEA, and it's called Critter with a K. So if you go to IKEA and order Critter, you can recreate this. And what's neat at the end is he painted it and everything, and it looks like a Red Bull.
Yeah, exactly. Except for instead of bull, there's a sheep, because the bed, on the headboard of the bed, are two little fluffy sheep in there, and he actually cut them out and repurposed them and put them on the rig to make it look where the bull logo would be.
It's time we change our team name to Red Sheep Racing.
Red Sheep? That's a good one. Yeah, I like that. But this guy, he's got a lot of videos where he does not just simulator stuff. He just repurposes things, and very creative and very handy. It's pretty cool what some of the other stuff that he did.
Right. I went to look at his channel, Brian, to see what else he does. And he's not a sim racer by any means. He doesn't have anything video related to racing or sim racing. It's like you said, he builds stuff. He repurposes furniture into different things, basically.
That monitor makes a lot of sense now.
All right, Brian, we've got another Thrustmaster direct drive wheel review with this funky looking base.
Yeah, this is OC Racing. We've looked at a couple other reviews on this Thrustmaster. So the biggest thing that we've taken from all of these reviews is the mounting option, and so we'll nail them one more time for this. The mounting, it doesn't mount to any normal standard rig, so you got to either custom something, start drilling through your aluminum, or have to fork out an extra $30 for their mounting plate adapter. So I didn't check out the rest of the review, but judging from the previous reviews we've seen, most people have been fairly happy with this wheelbase, other than the mounting issues.
Okay. Driving it's fine, according to the two videos. And the second video we found this week was Carl Gosling, Donnie's favorite guy. And I think both OC and Carl, in summary, they're saying, look, this might be a good buy if you're already in the Thrustmaster ecosystem. Like you have a bunch of Thrustmaster wheels already and you want to be able to reuse those. By all means, upgrade to this Thrustmaster direct drive. But if you're not in the ecosystem, yeah, there's so many other options like the Moza 9 and the CSL-DD that are in competition with this, that you should pick one of those others, is what they basically say.
This just has the look of a really nice console wheelbase that you'd put on a desk in front of a monitor and you throw your Xbox on. Yeah.
Some of the other views had issues with the buttons on the side of the base, especially if you got a big oval wheel or something on it. It's not easy to reach those buttons. I'm sure those guys mentioned that too, right?
Yeah, I think it was Will from Boosted Media mentioned that last week, actually. But I think Carl went over that as well. I mean, Carl went over the fit and finish of the unit, and they talks about what Barry talked about from Sim Racing Garage, which is it's not just a plastic, but like a carbon fiber injected plastic or some kind of fiber injected where it makes it like a real super hard plastic. So when you throw out the word plastic, people usually take that with a negative tone, but everyone I've said is like it's like good plastic. And I think the other thing Carl mentioned was in the quick release, the lack of metal versus plastic is a little bit of a problem for him.
All right, Donnie, what does Dave Cam tell us about sim racing purchasing?
Yeah, he just gives us his advice. A new video from him this week on sim racing purchases he's made throughout his time and advice he gives on what you guys could do differently in the future. Just another awesome video by Dave. And it's kind of hard. It's hard to think about this sometimes because we're all in a different place. We might have started this hobby, at a different time in our life. Some started in another time. And if I can go back, there's not a whole lot I would change because I didn't know anything. But I'm dealing with it with my son now, and trying to guide him in the right directions when he wants this, when he probably should have this instead, type of thing. But no, it's another good video from him.
It's kind of the
Yeah,
follow-up
this
to
actually
the last one, basically.
Yeah, exactly. This came from his last video where he went through how much money he spent over the years on this, and he basically uses that information to try to help people out without spending as much as he did by making certain mistakes. And he goes from the entry level to what to upgrade to makes the biggest differences. He recommends if your very first sim purchase as far as wheel and pedal goes, he basically says get something cheap. Just don't just make sure that's something you want to do before you go hog wild with spend a lot of money. And then he goes through what upgrades he was gonna to recommend. And I thought it was really interesting that the first thing he said that he recommends upgrading is the pedals, because it's just having good pedals is what can make the biggest improvements in your driving. So, and then he goes from there. It's a really good video as usual.
Yeah, the get something cheap is really good starting advice, not only because you might get out of it, but also you're not going to know what you're missing as you're first learning the sim and sim craft and all of that. So, and not until you've really taken the cheaper wheel and pedals to its limits are you going to be able to tell and see a benefit from the upper level equipment.
Right. You'll know when it's time to change equipment. I mean, you just know.
Yeah, we all agree that pedals is probably the most important thing you upgrade to first.
Pedals, rig,
Yeah.
then rim.
Yeah, Dave did give an order to it, and he did say pedals first. I don't think he said rig second, though. I think he went to wheel next.
Yeah, but one thing he did say about the rig was definitely he recommends using aluminum profiles just because they're customizable. He had one that was a steel tube type and just couldn't customize it at all. So and he wound up getting a P1X, I think, and so he's been really happy with it. And he can just customize it however he wants. As he does make these upgrades, it can be changed around.
You're not getting out of your pedals what you can get out of them if your seat's not stable, I guess, as far as the rigging go. Because I used to race with a an office chair, and there were times not only did I have to adjust the office chair position, but the pedals would also occasionally move on me, right? So that's why I say rig first, or at least stability on the pedals. Because if your pedals and your seat position are not stable, your pedals are being wasted. All right, Brian, did they fix the VSR direct force?
Yeah, this is from Boosted Media. Will Ford again. So he actually reviewed the VRS Direct Drive Pro DD a while ago, and he was not unimpressed, and just was not happy with it at all. And fidelity and all kinds of issues. And, apparently, they had some good some firmware updates, and he actually thinks that it's a much better, a much more comparable wheel now, or base to what's out there on the market. So he thinks they did a really good job getting this thing and much better than his first review of it a few years ago.
Yeah, this was my number one. Ended up being my number two. Obviously, I went with SimiCube, but I put it number one because Barry's video is very positive about it, and the price was right. I think it's only like $7.95 to purchase it here, but I don't know where they come from. I've never tracked down where VRS is located, but I don't know. I just always like the look of it. You do have to hook those giant cables up to the side and have that the box, separate from it. But I don't know. I was always a fan of it. Never got to try it though.
Yeah. So kudos to Will to give it a second shot. You know what I mean? If you give one review early on and it's not great, to come back to it, after some firmware updates, software updates, see what's different. And like you said, Brian, it certainly changes to the positive. And this is certainly a viable option in the many different, direct drive wheels that are out there.
And this is actually the second week in a row that Will's done retests of wheelbases that he wasn't like super high on. If you remember last week, he retested all the Fanatec DD1 and DD2 after their firmware updates, and he's had some positive things to say about the improvements on that too.
All right, this next one I want to rename. The title Brian put in here is the Hideaway Rig, but I think it should be called the Harry Potter Rig because it's basically hid in a closet underneath the stairs.
It could be
Cool.
called Try Your PC Rig, unless he gets enough airflow in there.
Now there are fans.
Oh, he's got that fan in the back. Did you see that? Yeah, that big tube.
Yeah, and right at the beginning of the video, he shows a big hose, ventilation hose, before he opens the door. So I think he got some new ventilation.
I can imagine if you close those doors, you could actually get your CO2 level a little too high in there.
Yeah, I have a mild case of actually probably a decent case of claustrophobia, and I don't know. If somebody shut those doors on me and I'm racing, you can't really do nothing about it. I guess you would be distracted by running, but I like the idea. It's a good use of space.
Look, I don't even like to keep my office door closed, and I'm in a pretty big room with high ceilings. So I can feel you, Donnie. I certainly wouldn't want to race in this. I think it would be super hot. You got to have airflow. I got to have fans blowing on me. I don't know if this would work for me.
And would your computer heat up too? Because it might not be getting enough air to keep cool.
Well, do you see where it's at? It's behind him, and I guess if you have front pull for the fans, and hopefully he's getting something from underneath. But yeah, even sitting next to this cold window, my PC is right next to it. It still runs at its normal temp. It doesn't knock it down any.
He probably just has to get Hermione to cast the spell PC Coolio.
He does, he's got a single monitor, but he's got a monitor above for timing and scoring for JRT. Pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, inside of it is really cool looking. It's too narrow for triples though, so that kind of stinks unless he uses VR. He's going to be limited to a single monitor.
You're using VR, they can just shut the door on you whenever. Then I guess it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
All right, this last one is for our friend Steve Thompson, who's been MIA from the show for a while. I understand he's working 12 or 14-hour days and stuff, but Steve, guess what? SimiCube Active Pedal is for sale in the United States.
I'm checking right now on the price. Is price still the same?
Well, I haven't looked, but there is a new Instagram video that we found today from SimiCube showing that their products are now available in the U.S. via a new U.S. Version of their website.
All right, I'm on it now. On sale for $59.17. You can get the whole set. And a single pedal will set you back about $2,200. So I think that's about on par with what they came out with.
It says free shipping on all orders.
It's just so big.
The pedal, it's so long. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, the pedal. The pedal, the mounting platform, all of it.
Now, when I go to click on it, it says available on a future date. All right, with that, we're going to jump to results. Let's talk winter NIS. And Friday at Talladega, I ran. And I don't want to talk about it, really. We'll just pretend this one didn't happen. Yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly.
Let's talk about what you talked about before you ran it, though.
Did you run all?
Well, that was for the Wednesday race.
Oh, that's right.
We already talked about that last week. So I ran it Friday, and I was thinking, okay, this is my redemption, but I spun out on my own more than once. Now, the other thing I learned during this event is this car, the 87, has in-car adjustment. I didn't even realize, where you adjust the rear spoiler angle, literally 60 degrees, 50 degrees, 40 degrees. You can just change it at will. And I've learned that some of these people in their open set are increasing that so they have better downforce. And so I'm running the fixed set with a lower spoiler. So maybe that's why I'm spinning out. But I ended up spinning out on my own twice, so I parked it. I was embarrassed.
Those adjustments can only be made at pit stops, right?
Yeah, you have to adjust and then stop. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a pit stop, not an in-car. But generally, you want to run the lowest downforce you can at the plate tracks.
Yeah, I would blow by them on the straights, but they would blow by me on the corners, basically. But then I couldn't, after so long, I would just spin out because I could only hold it together for so long. I guess I don't know. That car is hard, and Talladega is just a thorn in my side with that car. I tell you. All right, moving on to Wednesday Open at Phoenix, P17. I ran as high as P9, but didn't do tires on the last stop. It was a huge regret, and I faded to the last car, one lap down, P17. I told you guys today, look, if I don't get a late caution in these races at Phoenix, if I get a late caution, I might be able to win the race. But if I don't get one, I'm pretty much hosed because I can't save tires. If my life depended on it, not at this track.
At this track?
I mean, it's really bad at this track is what I'm trying to say. It's like exaggerated. All right, moving on. I ran official Indy Pro F2000 at Spa, qualified 10th out of 15. Actually got ran over from behind on turn 1, lap 1, but no damage and finished P6. Then the USF 2000 at Spa, qualified 4th out of 13. I got wrecked out at the end on the long straight. When the guy behind us didn't even try to brake for the corner and just like literally plowed in. I brake, I turn in, and he just came flying in from behind, 40 mile an hour faster and just took me out. Donnie, ARCA, Talladega, you were wrecked.
Yeah, it's my only official race I think I've ran in a while, since the Roar and then the 24. Those are my other only two. But yeah, I heard that they were racing Talladega, saw some videos online, so I thought I'd give it a go. I haven't raced the ARCA car in a while. And I just remembered it was the same crap as always. Everybody wants to bump draft you, even though there's a million videos out there telling you not to bump draft at with the ARCA car. But other than that, it's fun. I wrecked. Is what it is.
Okay, Winter League Atlanta, DNF. I actually started dead last, and I drove it right up to 9th place, and then I faded back to last before I parked. I actually felt kind of sick to my stomach. There were other people in my house who had the flu, and I was fighting trying to get it, I think. So I couldn't even hear David on TeamSpeak, even though he was in the same race, and so I was just frustrated and parked it. David,
I didn't know you
wanna-
couldn't hear me. I was on
His
there.
sound was up too loud.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I was on there, so I don't know why you couldn't hear me. And I didn't have it muted, did I?
138 decibels.
I don't know.
Yeah, I came in P20. I just got buggered on. I got snookered on fuel strategy. A lot of guys saved fuel and made it. It was a 100-lap race, and they all made it in 50 laps and split it in half. I went ahead and pitted twice, not thinking anybody could make it, but I should have known better when I'm running the same pace as Chandler for a whole run. So I should have saved fuel, but yeah, I just got snookered on the pit. Ran a clean race, no cautions, came in P20.
Okay. And next, the big thing in our group chat over the last several days has been the major series. And you guys have run a lot of races.
Yeah, I'm benefiting from the fact that we've been iced out all week. So as I was driving back from Daytona, in fact, in Alabama, the temperature on my car reading was about 52. An hour later, as I get into Mississippi and start getting close to Memphis, it dropped all the way down to 31 within 60 miles of driving. And then when I got home within an hour, it was ice. It was freezing rain, and we've been out of school all week. But I've had the chance to go ahead and run a lot of pre-Q races, and currently I'm sitting with the first, fourth, fifth, and sixth as my top 4 races so far, which means I should be able to make top split pretty easily.
You'll have to run those duels before the race, right?
Yeah, you got to be in the top 50 as far as the pre-qualify points to run the duels. And then in the duels, you just got to finish in the front half of the pack, to feel safe. I think it's only the bottom 8 that go to the second split or something like that. It's I like the format because it's forcing a lot of people to earn some experience in this kind of racing instead of it being the first time they've ever really done it at the 500. So there's been a lot of stupidity, but at least that stupidity is happening now. Y'all saw a video of the most recent stupidity that I just posted in chat. It was just somebody who decided that they didn't care that there was a car on their side and just turned into them. But I'm not terribly worried about it because I've had some consistently good finishes. So now I'm just trying to add icing to the cake and get more practice. This is a nice format.
Well, that's good to hear for come Saturday night for me, but I only signed up for 4. I might have to rethink that. We only have a couple days left, but I ran my first 2 Sunday morning. I had to wake up at 5 to catch the 5:15 start. Could not find the race in the league sessions. Didn't realize that to go to hosted. Found hosted within 30 seconds. I was able to register. Still had my qual set in, and I switched to my race set. But I happened to put Darlington. It was next to Daytona, and I could not understand why I was hitting the chip in the draft. It was driving me nuts. So I couldn't even keep up. And I'm like, what in the hell's going on here? And now I'm using an older set for Daytona anyway. So I pulled off. I wasn't gonna do nothing with that race anyway. And then I realized I was running Darlington set like a ding dong. And then my second race, this is where I got to see what I wasn't happy about. And it's just like a lot of shenanigans. And I think, David, you put it in the chat later on this week, and I won't say it here, but you kind of explained to me why it's like that. And it kind of made sense watching some of the driving patterns out there on what these people are normally used to. So I'm hoping tomorrow night I got 2 more. I might have to squeeze in 3 to get rid of that first race. But yeah, maybe 3 tomorrow somehow.
Yeah, well, I'll say it. It's basically particularly a lot of road racers who just don't do this. They don't have any experience really doing it. So they're just not that good at it. They make a lot of really bad decisions and just really don't know how you have to big picture race, even when you're small picture racing at this track.
Yeah, usually we'll get our couple guys in a regular NIS race where that guys just can't hold a line, but it seemed like nobody was holding a line. It was just very frustrating. But that was only one real race for me. So hopefully tomorrow be a lot better. And I'm just hoping by the race. I don't want to invest my time and it being a complete, waste of time.
Well, you'll get to run any way you do, and if you're not worried about points, you'll get to run no matter what. You just might not make top split.
Yeah, I just don't want the race to be crap. I want it to be a normal race.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this format will help with that some.
So when you run the big races, I might try to jump in and spot somebody. Now, I think Greg and Tom and Bobby are also involved, right?
I
Yep.
think Tom is going to make the duels with you. What about Greg?
He's in pretty good shape too.
And I think Bobby last night, I thought I saw him say that he's going to make it as well.
As of earlier,
Yeah, he
he was
did
sitting
say-
on the bubble.
Ooh, the bubble.
What's the number for the bubble?
It's moving target because as people continue to push their points up, it's gonna get it's top 50. So that's moving. Now the Mad Sim guys team chat was saying they are expecting 24 or 23 to get in, but I've as of this morning I had 23 and a half and was sitting 15th overall in Pacific. So it was like 17 was